Hey guys, it's Crystal Briefs. Sorry about the delay in posting a video about Jade Worm. I was on a trip and couldn't work on the video for a while. So in this one, I'm going to be discussing the uses of the new familiar talent of Jade Worm in castle rallying, based on the results of the tests I've done. In the following videos, I'll be doing wonder rallies and castle defending situations. So this is the new familiar talent that Jade Worm got. It works like the debuffs and it's a raw 9% reduction of damage once it gets activated. By the way, this kind of demonstrates that the effect of multiplicative debuffs are the same across all stats in the opponent, because whether the opponent has 100% attack or 1000% attack, the damage you receive will be reduced by 9% either way. All multiplicative debuffs work like that, so it's a myth that debuffs are more effective on a stronger opponent. Let's get into the results. First, we tested 6 conditions, 3 phalanxes and 2 rally situations, near cap rally and easy cap rally, because rally leads aren't generally concerned about small rally targets. And here's the first condition. I did a 2-3-7-5 full tier 2 inf with buffer troops and siege as an attacker. And my testing partner did a 2k tier 2 each troop type and 3k tier 1 each troop type to simulate a rally on a castle with about 15 million troops in inf phalanx. I've got 2 slots open for testing in which we normally put shield and griffin. We used tier 2 because we test too much to be using tier 4 and above. Experiments need to be reproducible and sustainable. I know the results aren't a true representation of real rallies, but it's still possible to make a valid comparison if you carefully control the experiments. So here's the first set of results. We got the reference, and the first box shows each familiars tested alone on top of the 3 fixed blast familiars. Shield performed the best, improving by 250 from the reference. The damage increase is way more than Griffin, which might surprise some of you. But if you think about how it works, Shield familiar completely cancels out the incoming damage that should have killed 7% of the troops, and that's theoretically very similar to just adding 7% extra troops upon activation, and thereby more damage to the enemy. Mega Maggot came the second, which might be surprising to some of you, but what it does is preventing enemy heroes to activate 200% squad attack, so it's actually reasonable. Jade Worm came the third, and Griffin the last. And if you look at the damage, Jade Worm increased slightly more than Griffin did. Why could this happen? So I'm gonna briefly talk about the theoretical or mathematical aspect. So if you're not into it, please skip this part. So we got a simplified linear model or a linear graph plotting damage dealt to the opponent against time progression, which is 40 seconds maximum. And initially the damage is maximum, but decreases as your troops die. And if the graph touches the bottom axis before 40 seconds, it means your entire army is gone and capped. If you're already lost, please skip this part. And the area under this plot is equal to the total damage you did to the opponent, so that will be the end casualties of the opponent. Now if you increase your attack stat, you increase the initial damage and the graph begins from a higher point of the y-axis. However, the timing of your entire army dying would be pretty similar, which is debatable actually, because there's a mechanism that you indirectly increase your lifespan by killing enemy faster. But since it's a simplified model, we'll ignore that for now. The added blue area is the added damage to the total damage by increasing the attack stat of some kind. Now let's look at the increasing lifespan model. Here we've got the before plot like we did in the previous plot, but now what would happen by increasing the HP of some kind? The initial damage stays the same, but the troops will survive longer, doing more damage. So both increasing attack and HP contains the mechanism of causing more damage to the enemy based on these models. Of course, these plots are too simplified and inaccurate. In fact, normally it's the complex mixture of the two plus other factors like familiars and heroes who can potentially mess up these models and produce results that are difficult to predict mathematically. But these models will form your basis in theoretical understandings in Lords Mobile War. And these models can be used to explain the importance of HP as well. Alright, intense part is now over, and those who skip the video should land here. So we've seen that Jade Worm produced more damage than Gryphon. Now, what would happen if we tested different combinations of familiars? So in the second box, I've tried different combinations of familiars being investigated on top of the 3 fixed familiars. So each attack would have all 5 slots occupied. And in this case, Jade Worm plus the shield came the first. And if you look closely, the attacker's casualties is reduced by a lot. Plus, the damage dealt to the defender is at the highest, outperforming any combinations that Gryphon is involved. Shield and Jade Worm seems to exhibit true synergistic effect, by which I mean that the effect of the combination excels the effect of each familiar tested alone, just added together. So it's like 2 plus 3 equals 5, which is just addition. Rather, it's 2 times 3, producing 6 in synergy. And it's pretty clear from the results. Jade alone only improved by 86, and the shield improved only by 250 from the reference. But together, they improved 567, which is drastically more than individual effect added together. No combination of familiars to my knowledge has ever exhibited such a strong synergy. It's pretty crazy, right? Also, their synergistic effect can be explained in a theoretical manner, but that's another time. So should we call it a day and just switch Gryphon out for Jade Worm? Well, there's not enough data at all to conclude that yet. Let's move on to the next condition. In the next one, the defender did ranged phalanx, so I would counter their front line. Plus, I've had ranged added more for the defender, because the transition in retargeting sequences is often a source of inaccuracies. And here's the results. Again, the combination of Jade Worm and Shield Familiar aced in every aspect. The previously popular lineup came the second, and you can see other combinations producing any synergistic effect by yourself. But be careful that when you want to strictly assess a synergistic effect, you have to look at the direction of improvement on reduction of casualties and increase of damage, and the rate of improvements, and so on and so forth. The rate of one casualty difference changes according to the reference point. If the original casualty is 1, increasing casualties by 1 would be a 50% rate of improvement, whereas increasing casualties by 1 from 1,000 casualties would be only a 0.1% improvement. I'm not doing the rate of improvements in my video because that'll be torturous to you guys. In fact, it might already be. I think I've provided enough details for you to do your own analyses. Let's now go to attacking a Cav Phalanx with an Inf Blast. In this one, Shield is the best again, followed by Jade Worm on an individual basis. And the combination of Jade and Shield Familiar aced in every aspect again. And other explanations would be a repetition, so please look at them closely in your own time. Now, are we ready to conclude that the combination of Jade plus Shield is the best familiar lineup? Unfortunately, no. I haven't introduced to you the other 3 conditions I've tested. So I've simulated a rally on a rally party trap in which a walk back can never happen. So this is the first condition. Inf blast on inf phalanx. So the defender now got 51k troops, which is arguably similar to 50 to 70 million troops in a castle. And guess what happens now? The ranking is now reversed. Gryphon and Maggot are now taking over the other familiars, and I think this is a major upset. The reason why Jade Worm and Shield Familiar didn't work might be that the defender's damage was too big, that longer lifespan, therefore more damage mechanism, got significantly decreased. And let's look at the defender in ranged phalanx too. Now, if you look at the casualties in the defender, they're kind of strangely low. And this relates to one of the major differences between camp testing and testing in a real castle. The distance between the opposing troops is different. In real castle, chances are there will be much more casualties. So this result is even less representative of a real situation than other testing conditions. With that in mind, let's still compare the results. And with this situation too, Mega Maggot aced, and Mega Maggot plus Shield was apparently the best combination. Now to the defender countering the attacker. In this situation, Mega Maggot also aced. You can look at it in your own time. Now, why Mega Maggot beating all other familiars? It's a theory I have, but if troops die fast, the number of tactical skill activation troops are receiving will be reduced. So normally, in a full 40-second fight, each hero will activate around 4 to 5 times tactical skill. However, if the rally gets destroyed within the first 20 seconds, then the troops might only receive 2 or 3 tactical skill attack, and Mega Maggot takes away one of that skill activation, which may constitute a large proportion of the entire damage dealt to the attacker. Plus, the strength of 200% squad attack of heroes by nature is proportional to the troop count. So the strength of hero attack in 20 million troops and 50 million troops would become so big, and intuitively, stunning heroes in 50 million troops just seems more effective. To get a better insight, I've also did a ranged blast against Cav Phalanx with the same party trap condition. The Cav frontline is pretty helpless against ranged blast. In this case, Gryphon aced, followed by Shield on its own. But the best combination was Jade Worm and Maggot. And there's one outlier here, the combination of Maggot and Shield. And in this case, the mechanism was altered somehow, so need to not include this in the analysis. Overall, it looks like Jade Worm and Shield Familiar combo is pretty overpowered against a smaller rally trap. So you can certainly swap out Gryphon for Jade Worm if you're doing a rally that can potentially walk back. However, when you're organizing a rally party, you could maybe advise everyone to put Mega Maggot in instead of Jade Worm, but the results are not conclusive enough yet. Based on the results we got here, we should test whether those results can be recreated in Attack in a Castle. The only thing we can say for sure at the moment is that the best familiar lineup depends on a situation, as I've always been telling you. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the uses of Jade Worm in War of Wonders and castle defending. If you found it interesting, I appreciate you like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and see you later.